And here we are with part 2 of the third trailer for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. In this part, we're going to be talking about the new copy abilities alongside a few details we have learned about Waddle Town. I already have a 20-minute analysis of the Waddle Town, so if you want to learn other stuff that I won't be talking about here, you should check out part 2 of my analysis for the second trailer. For the mouthful mode analysis, you can check out part 1 of this trailer's analysis. And for the bosses and the rest of the trailer, you have to wait until part 3 because I underestimated how much stuff was in this trailer. Alright, let's not waste any more time. Hello everyone, I'm DExus and welcome to TheDExusShow. In this scene we can see a small island in the beach level. Here we see a caged Waddle, a Garurufi sleeping under the chair under the palm trees, surrounded by cold snacks, and a beach ball in front of them. To the right, we see a stack of coins, including our first look at a blue coin. And to their left, a warp star. Something interesting about the warp star here is that it's orange-ish, as opposed to yellow. I wonder if these work like the two-way doors in the 2D Kirby games. If it is, then I suppose that this is the location the warp star will take you to, since there's a caged Waddle, so you might have gotten this warp star after clearing a puzzle or finding it hidden somewhere. Meaning that you came from that warp star and that you have to hop into that warp star to return to the rest of the level. But we do see a little bit of a path to the left though. Something more to note about this scene is that it somewhat references Kirby's Adventure Ice Cream Island's intro cutscene, noted by the green beverage and the fact that someone is sleeping under a palm tree in a chair. Shout out to Leader Fuzzy on Twitter for pointing this out. Now we see a bit more of Waddle Town, with the trailer focusing on the aspect of Waddle's building up the place. Here we see that the hat store is one of the first places to be built up, while the cafe takes 60 Waddles to build, and the post office and Kirby's house take 50 Waddles. Interestingly, we see that some Waddle NPCs move around when a building is built. In the roof of the house behind Kirby's house, we see a Waddle with Bandana Waddle next to them on the roof sitting and chilling. Also, does this mean what I think it means? Bandana Waddle is going to be an NPC! I will go crazy listening to everything this little man has to say. In the next shot, we see Kirby and Elfilin standing on the roof of the hat store, which then fades to the Coliseum, in which we get a better look of the tent I was talking about in part 2 of trailer 2's analysis. We also see that the Coliseum's entrance is blocked, so this means that my theory was right. We have to talk to the Waddle in the tent to enter the arena. The Waddle in the tent wears some blue framed glasses and a jello bow tie. He's so cute! Oh, and to its left and or right, they have a little microphone that looks like a walkie. I really hope that that is a walkie, but I don't think that's the case due to how small it is and how it lacks its feet. What a tease, man. I really wanted a walkie co-commentator. I'm going to call this Waddle Commentator Waddle until the name is confirmed. To the left wall of the tent, we also see a poster for a bracket. Could there be a bracket mode or an online bracket ranking system in the arena? In the arena itself, we see two storm patterns formed with bricks. They are very similar to the classic 8-bit sprite of Star. In the game's website, we see that the Coliseum can be upgraded, noted by the different brick colors for the 8-bit warp store walls, the two columns next to the entrance, the multicolored banner flags, the balloons on top, and of course the area's logo. Here, the logo has an orange sign and 3 stars, while the one in the trailer has 1 star and a dark red design. In the website image, we can also see Meta Knight on top of one of the pillars. I wonder if that's a statue of him, or if it's the real Meta Knight, since he has a thing for standing in tall places. Thanks to the Japanese website, we now have a confirmation of what the arena is for. Here we get rematches with already defeated bosses, and we also get to fight Meta Knight here, as seen at the end of trailer 2. In the trailer footage, we also see a pink tent to the right. I actually have no idea what this is for. It could be a circus thing, or it could be another store. Again, I have no idea. Even less than I had for the flower building in the previous trailer's analysis. Speaking of which, in the game's Japanese website, we got a better look of this flower building, revealing what it will be for. Here, you can buy useful items for your adventure, in form of drinks. Here we can see 3 items for sale. Defense boost in a bottle, being sold for 300 coins, attack boost in a bag, being sold for 150 coins, and a speed boost in a juice box, also being sold for 150 coins. By the way, these are the same power-ups seen in Guest Star Allies Go. They even have the same icons. Thanks to another screenshot, we see how these juice boxes will work. Once you purchase one, you temporarily gain its effects. Attack boost lasting 200 seconds. You can also stack up its effects up to 5 times. So these work like the EXP orbs in Super Kirby Clash. Here we also learn what the X button will be used for. The item storage from Kirby Triple Deluxe and Kirby Planet Robobot is back. The storage will most likely be used to store food items, like how it was used in the two prior games. In this game's website, we even get this hinted at, since we can order takeout food in Waddle Cafe, most likely referring to buying food there and having it kept in your storage. In the screenshot for the cafe, we see this item storage once more. Here we also get a better look at the menu as well, including the mysterious top item, which is a meal based on Carmouth Kirby. I wonder if this plate will be available to order in the real Kirby Cafe, just like how the Kirby Burger is available in the real world location. Here we also see how much this item heals, well, an approximation at least. It heals some of your health. I'm going to assume that it heals a little bit over a quarter of your health, since its price is a little bit above a quarter of a maximum tomatoes. Next to the Waddle Cafe is the post office, which we get more information about. Thanks to Nintendo's website about the game, we learned that the place is called Waddle Deliveries. Here, you can present some codes hidden throughout the game and possibly post it online by the Kirby Twitter account. And with these codes, we get in-game items that will help you throughout your adventure. This place basically works like the chest from Super Kirby Clash. Continuing on with Waddle Dee Town, in front of these two places is Kirby's house, which is revealed that, oh my god, we can finally go inside of Kirby's house. In Nintendo's website, we learned that here is where you will be able to view your collected figurines and decorate the place with them. And in the game's Japanese website, we learned that you can hop into Kirby's bed and take a nap, recovering your full health for free. This might also come with a cute animation of Kirby sleeping. In the screenshot, we see a book on the table. I wonder if this is Kirby's diary, or something along those lines. If he does have a diary, I wonder how poorly written it might be, since the little guy doesn't even know how to read. Maybe Meta Knight taught him off screen. Behind Kirby's house is the fishing minigame, which, thanks to the name of this image, we learned is called Flash Fishing. In this image, we see Bandana Waddle Dee fish a giant blipper. And, thanks to this bit of footage posted in an advertisement tweet for the game, we have an idea on how the minigame will play. Simply press the button shown on screen as fast as possible to fish a fish. In the game's Japanese website, we learned that there's a third minigame, which is a little rolling ball maze minigame. I bet this game is played with motion controls. We know nothing else about this game at all. This minigame could be played in the unknown tent mentioned earlier. On the other side of town, we see a new building, a tall tower. We also don't know what this is for. What we do know is that it can be built before the end of Road 3. Next to it, we see an empty area with a Waddle Dee reading a book. Just like I thought in the analysis of Trailer 2, we get access to this place, and we reach it throughout this bridge. Under the bridge is the Gacha Alley, where we get the gacha toys from. In the trailer, we see another machine, this one being red. Thanks to this image, we see another figurine, one we haven't seen before in the machine's artwork, Sword Kirby. Here we see that immediately upon getting the figurine, we see its description. Like stated before, I hope that we get lore in these. Next to the figure's name, we see how many of these specific figurines we have gotten so far. We also learned that this figurine is from Volume 1. Next to the alley is the theater, in which we can see movies, which is probably referring to cutscenes. But I would love to see actual shorts made by the townsfolk though. In the left side of the building, we see a poster for a band, meaning that the theater might also work as the game's sound test. In the zoom out image for the game's Japanese website, we see a ramp at the bottom left side of the town. Could this be an extension to the town? Or just an in-road walk-in entrance to the town? Who knows? Back to the trailer, we see Kirby going to the hat store. And here we see Elfin look at Kirby, and he looks very happy. Look at him! Once Kirby enters the store, we see the location's name, that being Waddle Dee's weapons shop. Throughout the media of the shop, we see 7 abilities in display, fire and cutter on this clip. Interestingly, no sword in this, meaning that the ability might not be used until later on in the game, maybe. And in this press kit image, we also see that sword will be next to cutter. And on the other side of the store, we see bomb, tornado, drill, and sleep. That means that sleep can be upgraded. I'm going to predict 2 more upgrades for this ability, coma and death. Let's go because those are just more deep sleeps. Jokes aside, does this mean that the moveset given to it in Kirby Battle Royale could return in this game? In this promotional video for the game, we see 2 more spots next to sleep, for needle and ice. Assuming that the other half of the store has the same layout, there are 6 spots on each side, meaning that there are 12 abilities in this game, which we have all seen. It's kinda sad to see that there are this little amount of abilities in the game, but it's understandable, especially thanks to the gimmick introduced for them. Here Kirby talks to the runner of the shop and the Waddle who upgrades their abilities, whose name we learn is Weapons Shop Waddle thanks to the screenshot. In the screenshot we see how excited he gets when presented an ability scroll, which here we learn are called blueprints. In this other screenshot we learn that blueprints are found in levels, with this one being found in this beach level. Then we learn that we can evolve an ability, and that for that you'll need 3 things: the blueprint for an upgrade, some coins, and these multicolored stars. We have not seen these multicolored stars anywhere else in the trailer, so I wonder how you get them. Some people think it's via the diamond-shaped star shards, but I think this will work more like red coins in Mario games. I honestly don't think they're gonna be currency, even if in this screenshot we see them being really close to each other. I predict that we might get them from the dimensional rifts seen in the world map, but I'll get into more detail about this when talking about those later on. In this we also see that abilities have ranks, 2 to be exact: Power, meaning strength, and Rapid Fire, meaning speed. While Weapons D evolves an ability, we see a couple of blueprints in the wall, but 3 caught my attention. The top one is a blueprint of Kirby's sword from the sword copy ability. The one under it is a blueprint of Planet Popstar, the homeworld of the Waddles and Kirby and the rest of the gang. And the one next to the sword somewhat looks like the icon for the beam copy ability. We haven't seen beams yet, so I hope that it wasn't cut out and that the ability does return. I think it will be really cool to see it on 3D, since we haven't seen it work in 3D yet. We then see the animation it plays when Kirby evolves an ability. It is the same as the one when Kirby gains an ability. Does this mean that this weapons shot also doubles as the ability room? Here in this shot, next to Cutter, we see the fire copy ability with a little sign next to it. I believe this sign lets you know that you have the blueprint and available materials to evolve this ability. Later in the trailer, we see that you can also upgrade the evolved abilities, possibly adding to those speed and power meters. The way these different versions of copy abilities work is that you can choose one of these versions of an ability as the one you'll be gaining when copying an ability, since they all work slightly different but are still inherently the same ability. And by the looks of it, each ability will have 3 versions. Let's go down all the ones we have seen. For Cutter we have Chakram Cutter, as seen on the trailer, and Full Metal Cutter as seen on the game's Japanese website. Chakram Cutter gives Kirby 2 cutter discs to rapidly throw forwards. The disc then returns, curving to the side of the hand it was thrown from. We can also see Kirby perform a dual-bladed final cutter. Then we see that Kirby can hold the disc cutter in place and charge it up to 3 times. I assume that each charge is slightly stronger. Then we see the disc return in a straight line. I assume that this move is done by pressing and holding the attack button and releasing the button when you want the disc to return. In some footage posted on Twitter, we can see that this move can also be done while 2 cutter discs are out. Finally, we see Kirby throw 2 cutter discs simultaneously. This attack could be made by quickly tapping the attack button twice or by putting the Y button in action, which I really hope returns. For Full Metal Cutter, Kirby uses a saw blade, ejecting it from the top of his hat. This ability could work like the Cutter plus Cutter ability in Kirby 64, having a larger and stronger hitbox but being slow. We actually see this evolution in action thanks to the same Twitter video I just talked about. Here we see Kirby perform Final Cutter with the saw blade, in which he ends the attack by throwing the saw blade forwards, with it returning back once it reaches its apex. We also see that this Cutter saw blade shortly sticks into walls and then bounces off of them. We also see that Kirby can throw multiple of these saw blades while one is already out. For fire we have seen Volcano Fire and Dragon Fire, called Draconic Fire in Japanese. Volcano Fire lets Kirby constantly throw fireballs to the direction he's facing. This ability is very similar to his Fire plus Stone ability in Kirby 64. In this footage we also see him do the burning attack, but that's an attack regular Fire can also do. The attack is done by jumping while running and attacking, as we can see in the ability's description. I wonder if it can also be done by pressing the Y button, if the form to attack with it returns. We also see this ability's description in the trailer. Dragon Fire lets Kirby walk around while doing the Fire Breath. It also upgrades the burning attack by making it the Fire plus Fire version from Kirby 64. Let me say, this ability looks awesome. I especially love the purple flames. And also let me say that hat looks incredible. It does look a little bit familiar though. Kinda like a combination of Landia EX and the Master Crown. For Needle, we see Clutter Needle in the trailer, and Crystal Needle in the game's website. Clutter Needle is clearly a reference to the Needle plus Needle combo ability from Kirby 64. This ability's gimmick is how it drops around nuts and bolts when it's moving around. Also, can I point out how I predicted this ability's hat color in my Dark Matter Trilogy Dream Games episode? We don't see any footage of Crystal Needle, but I assume that this evolution's gimmick is just making the needles bigger. That's about it, at least from what we can make out on this image. Next up is Sword, of which we only see Gigant Sword. For Gigant Sword, we see Kirby wear a hat based on Gigant Edge. Well, this game's alteration of it, Wild Edge, who we see in this press kit image. Kirby also wields Wild Edge's giant sword. In this trailer, we see Kirby charge up his huge sword and then swing it around him after strongly hitting the floor with it. In the website, we see more footage of this ability, starting with Kirby having a spiky shield. I assume that Kirby can walk up to enemies with his shield up and hurt them. I think it's safe to believe that Wild Edge will also have this shield, as he usually has a shield in his normal version. We then see Kirby make a giant slash with his giant sword. And then we see him make a huge sword spin with his sword, and I thought that Hammer's giant flip was huge. Not only that, he does the attack twice while in the air. Finally, we see Kirby do the classic sword combo, drill stab to upward slash to sword dive. Interestingly, Kirby does a sword spin after the dive. Kirby then does a Neo slash combo due to just how big the sword is. We don't see this ability's third version, so I'm going to predict what it's going to be. Remember Master? You know, the Master ability? What if Meta Knight gives Kirby the blueprint for this upgrade after you beat him in the arena? The ability's third upgrade could also instead be a dual-bladed light sword, like the Cutter plus Spark combo from Kirby 64. How cool would that be? Here is Ranger, which evolves to Noble Ranger. Noble Ranger has Kirby dual wielding and rapid firing. If you look at Kirby's gun, you can see that they're popped open. This is because Kirby goes crazy with his gun in this. In the game's website, we see more footage. By the looks of it, Kirby constantly shoots star bullets for as long as the button is held. When doing this ability's aerial attack, Kirby does it in the shape of a V. When doing the charge attack, instead of firing a singular giant star bullet, he goes ham with rapid fires. You can also see, at the beginning of the video, that Kirby has Witch Time for his dodge. At first, I believe that this only happens with the Ranger family of abilities, since in some new footage from the website, we see him slow down time while dodging with the regular Ranger ability too. But after this, Hal dropped a video showcasing Chloraline's boss fight, which I will be talking about later, in which Kirby slows down time while dodging without having a single ability. So this is just a new mechanic in the game. We also see that if you attack with this ability while in quick time, Kirby auto-aims the opponent. I wonder if he auto-aims the nearest opponent, or the opponent the attack he dodged came from. In regular Ranger's attack, he shoots 3 star bullets 3 times in a row. I bet he will go crazy with Noble Ranger. As for the third version, I can imagine something like Tank Ranger, working a reference to Rainbow Curse, a giant missile from Epic Jarn's Tank Bot, a remote-controlled missile referencing the missile ability, and of course the Bomb plus Bomb missiles from Kirby 64. Next up is Ice, for which we see Frosty Ice in the trailer and Blizzard Ice in the game's website. For Frosty Ice, we see something similar to Gigant Sword. Here, Kirby wears a costume of a mid-boss, this one being Wild Frosty, this game's version of Mr. Frosty. Instead of using his gear though, he wears a cute wool hat of the Chili Seal, but hole and all. Here we see that with this ability, Kirby creates Wild Frosty shaped snowmen at the peak of his ice breath. In the website's footage, we see that Kirby can kick these snowmen like if they were ice blocks. At the start of this video, we see Kirby doing a little spin while jumping out of its ice skate. I wonder if this is a Mr. Frosty reference or an Ice plus Cutter reference. We also see that when performing Ice Storm, Kirby leaves Wild Frosty shaped snowmen behind him. Finally, we see that when Kirby freezes an opponent, said opponent is frozen into a Wild Frosty snowman ice sculpture. Whew, what a mouthful. Which when kicked has a Wild Frosty snowman follow after it, leaving icy spikes on the floor behind the path it travels, that quickly after disappears. This ability's third version is Blizzard Ice, and we know nothing about it, other than Kirby seems to fire icicles in his freeze breath. Maybe this version will bring back the Ice Wall attack from Kirby Battle Royale. For the rest of the abilities, I'll do the same thing I did with Sword, since we don't see their third version. Hey, I like speculating, okay? Next up is Hammer, which has Toy Hammer called Pico Pico Hammer in Japanese. There isn't much to Toy Hammer, it's just a faster and possibly weaker version of the regular hammer, allowing it to be easily more spammable. I do want to say that I love this ability's hat. I just love how Kirby's helmet has the slightest Decora aesthetic. For my idea of a third version of this ability, I suggest one based off King Dedede. Second version's abilities have them based off mid-bosses, so why not have the third versions be based off bosses? Alternatively, we can keep the mid-boss theme and make it based off Bonkers. If he is in this game, that is. Which, let me say, please bring back Bonkers for this game, because if he is, that means we will have Wild Bonkers. Meaning that we will have Wild and Bonkers in one name, and it will just be really funny. Because that will be wild and that will be extremely bonkers. Get it? Next up is Drill, that has the pencil drill as its second version. We see this ability in the game's Japanese website. For this, Kirby's head has a pencil instead of a pencil sharpener, and he uses the pencil to drill. By the looks of it, the only addition this ability has are the pencil shaving's visual effects when starting and ending the attack, and the fact that Kirby shoots out the pencil at the end of the attack like a little missile. If you look closely, the pencil thrown seems to cycle from green to red to blue and repeat. Just like Hal, I don't have much ideas for an alteration of this ability. Only thing that comes to mind is an electric drill that's faster and has a longer yet thinner hitbox. Though maybe a third version could be slightly based off Animal, another digging ability Kirby has had in the past. Or based off the Robobot's armor's drill. Next is Bomb, for which we have seen its second version, that being Chain Bomb. Chain Bomb works like a regular bomb, but the bombs explode simultaneously when a fifth bomb is thrown. The 5 bombs are chained. Interestingly, in some press kit images, we see bombs exploding in sets of 4 and 3, so that makes me wonder how exactly you choose when to end the chain, and when to continue it. My idea for the third version of this ability is Dynamite Bomb, basically working like the Bomb plus Rock Mix ability from Kirby 64, or something similar along those lines. Finally is Tornado. In the game's website, we see Flare Tornado. This ability's hat, just like Gigan's Sword and Frosty Ice, is based off a mid-boss. That mid-boss being this duck-like dancer called Flarina, a mix of Flare and Ballerina. This ability just seems to be a wider and faster version of the Tornado, that ends with a wide attack. I do like the visual effect of the feathers falling off the attack when starting and ending it. That's a really cute detail. My idea for a third version of this ability is Storm Tornado. I think the ability has some potential with thunder and lightning being added to the attacks. Another ability that we see that can be upgraded is Crash, which my ideas for it are Nuclear Crash and Doomsday Crash. Nuclear Crash kills the entire level, and Doomsday Crash kills everyone in the entire game. Not just that, it fries your game card and Switch. I should stop, this isn't funny. But I do wonder what Crash has evolved into. Maybe an upgrade to be able to use it multiple times? Who knows? And that's it for this part. Yep, I once again underestimated the amount of stuff shown in the new Kirby trailer. Looks like this trailer is also getting a part 3. Jesus Christ. Hopefully another trailer doesn't drop before I get to finish working on this one. Talking about you, trailer 2. Actually, hopefully the game doesn't release before I'm done with part 3, which will be covering both this trailer and trailer 2, only focusing in smaller scoops only a Kirby fan can notice, and